Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're gonna give our 2020 Jeep Gladiator a 15,000 mile review. So if you've been thinking about getting one and you're curious, you better stay tuned. So welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Irwin. I am one of the hosts of Max.overlander, and on this channel we go over anything and everything to do with the 2020 Jeep Gladiator. We're getting a lot more into overlanding, doing stuff like that, just getting out and enjoying nature. So if you are into that, please think about hitting that subscribe button and hitting the like button if you like this video. It really does help the channel out. And like I've said in a lot of the other videos, when we hit 1,000 subscribers, Extreme Trucking Auto in Coopersville, Michigan will be doing some giveaways. So make sure you hit that button. All right, so let's jump right into this video. 15,000 mile review. Now, I'm like 300 miles away from 15,000 miles, but it's close enough, and I really wanted to get this review done for you. So what I'm going to go over in this video is my thoughts so far after 15,000 miles, which happened pretty quick because I am a real estate agent, so I drive everywhere. And also going to go over some of the mods that I've done since new, because I got it stock. It did roll off the showroom floor with 35s, but everything else I have done to it, and we'll go over some of this stuff, some of the dislikes, maybe some stuff I want to change, whatever we end up getting into. So let's go. Number one is the appearance. I absolutely love the appearance of the Jeep Gladiator. Now, me personally, I really only like the Gladiator or the Rubicon model and the Overland model if it's got the Highline fenders. I think they look really rugged, really tough, especially once you get them lifted and get some bigger meat underneath of it. I just think it has a really tough look, and boy, does it get a lot of looks. Now, for me personally, being a real estate agent, I want to talk to people. I mean, that's one of the big things that you have to do when you're a realtor, is be able to get people to know, like, and trust you. So I wanted every reason in the world to have as many conversations with Jeepers as possible. So to be honest, that was one of the reasons why I bought it, was so that, because it's so new and so many people have questions about them, that I would be able to chit chat with people and people would ask me questions. And if you have a Gladiator, I want to know some of your craziest stories about people asking you questions, because it literally happens on a daily basis. Me personally, I love that, because I love getting to know the Jeep community, the off-road community, anybody that's into motorsports. I love getting to know them, and this gives me an opportunity to chit chat with them about our mutual passions. So throw it down in the comment sections. I really want to hear how many times a day or a week that you get prompted if you own one of these Gladiators. The next thing I want to talk about is right there. It's a truck, and I use it like a truck. We have a 21-foot Yamaha twin jet engine boat, and it tows it very well. Now, my one complaint, because I do have a 2.5 inch and 37s on this truck, and we will talk about that here in a second. The 410 gears, they don't do too bad when we're on flat pavement when we're towing. Now, when you're trying to go up a hill with 410 gears and 37s, and you're fully loaded with gear in the truck, the family in the truck, it's not really that happy. So 2 weeks from now, I am putting 513 gears underneath of the Gladiator, and I am going to be doing a full video for that, so stay tuned for that one. We're going to do a before and after dyno run, so we know, changing gears, what it equates to as far as horsepower gain. And then we're going to do a pull with the boat up the hill that's next to my house, because that's the one it really doesn't like, because you start out on the hill and have to drive up at a steep angle for probably almost a mile, and the truck just, it screams. I mean, it's 6,000 RPMs just screaming, trying to get up that hill. So I'm really curious to see with the 513s how much better that does. And now some of you are probably going to throw in there that, why aren't you going 488s? Because I fully plan on putting 40s on this truck when these 37s wear out. So that brings me to my next thing, the tires. This has 37-inch Mastercraft, 37 by 12.5-inch Mastercraft with Dirty Life beadlock rims. I think they're too small. When I first put them on, I was like, man, that is some meat. It looks good. And now that I've been out wheeling with it a couple times, I just think they're small. So if you get the Rubicon model and you're flip-flopping between just saying screw it and going 40s, I would opt to go 40s. I think you're gonna be happier throwing 513 gears under it. All the guys that I've seen online really like that platform with the 40-inch tires on it. And the new style Dana 44 axles seem to be holding up well. I put them through some abuse. I'm almost done editing the Rocks and Valleys video, so we were hitting rocks with it, and you know, they did just fine. So think about that. All right, let's move on to the next thing. I have had this thing in for warranty work. The front axle has that disconnect for highway use where it disconnects the intermediate shafts, and there is a small device that disconnects those shafts and allows them to spin freely on the highway to get better fuel mileage. I was having an issue where getting off the highway and getting on the highway that I would hear a grinding noise in the front axle, and turns out that it was that intermediate shaft. There was a bad bushing in there, and during certain loads, certain speeds, those shafts would get misaligned. So I ended up talking to the Jeep dealer in Cedar Springs, and he looked up and there is a bulletin for that that basically says that if you hear that grinding noise in the front axle, to shift it into four-wheel drive. If it stops, then there's an issue with the bushing that needs replaced. So if yours is doing that, make sure you get it in, because they did find 2 chewed up shafts and metal shavings in the axle tube. Luckily, it did not go into the pig at all. So, you know, we're good there. But not saying that it couldn't. You know, if you get on some severe angles out wheeling and that's been eaten up and chewing up, you know, you could have some other issues. So make sure you get that taken care of. Okay, so the next thing I want to go over is the engine and the snorkel that I installed on the truck. The snorkel that I installed on this truck is the Rugged Ridge snorkel system, because I'm sorry, but I really did not want to cut into my Rubicon hood. You know, me personally, I just did not want to cut it. So I went with this system. I really like it. Now, let's talk about the engine really quick. It doesn't do bad. I wish it did have more power, especially obviously if it had a V8 in, I probably would not have to switch to the 513 gears. I don't think I'm gonna put a V8 in this one, especially with the rumors, you know, of the 392 coming into the Wrangler. If it comes into the Gladiator, I'm ripping all these parts off and we're buying the 392 Gladiator. But for now, what I'm probably going to end up doing is I am deciding between RIP supercharger and a company that's going to be sponsoring a part on mine is testing an Edelbrock supercharger for Edelbrock. No pictures, no nothing. We have not got to see it yet, but I am curious what Edelbrock is making for superchargers, because, you know, that is a cheap way, cheaper, it's not really cheap, but a cheaper way to get the horsepower of a Hemi in the Gladiator. So hopefully I will be doing that probably within a year. We're building a pole barn at our house, which I'm going to do some video content of that, because we're going to put a hoist in there, and that way when we do install videos, or once we get the pole barn built, you know, I'll probably end up putting that supercharger on myself, because a lot of you probably don't know, but I've been a real estate agent for 3 years, and before that I was a mechanic for Caterpillar. So all of the work that has gone into this rig I have done. I actually did make a video about the 2.5-inch Evo lift, and for some reason the memory card lost all of the video, and well, obviously it's already on the truck, so that sucks, because, you know, I think it was a pretty good install video and had a lot of really good information in it, but oh well, is what it is. So with that, we'll move into the lift. So I have the 2.5-inch Evo lift, and I'm still utilizing the Fox shocks on it. Now, I think it gives the truck a really, I'm gonna call it what it is, I think it gives it a sexy stance. It's me personally, I think the 37s fill it perfectly. Once I get the 40s, I think I'm going to do the fender delete and get rid of all of this part of the fender, and we should be able to fit those 40s. Now, if I'm having rubbing issues with the 40s flexed out and I have to put more bump stop in there, I might end up putting bigger springs on the truck, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now, I really like the Evo lift. I think I'm going to do a full-blown video on the pros and cons of the current setup that I have, just so that you know, and it can help you in your search for figuring out what lift you want to put on your truck. So let's move on to the bed. All right, the bed of the Jeep Gladiator. Don't mind me, I got a mess. I gotta bring all the cardboard to the dump, but I went with the Light Rider sun top, or the Light Rider tonneau cover. I can't talk today, jeez oh Pete. I really like this cover. I did make a video installing this cover. Once again, these videos take a while to edit unless they're like this and I can just chop them together, but I do like this cover. The reason I went with it is because, like I said, I have a company that is designing a prototype rack that I will be putting on this truck, and it utilizes the trail rail system on the inside, which I don't have that yet. I'm looking at the Rebel off-road system, so if you have that, I'd love to know what you think of it in the comments. So I wanted to make sure that we could still use a tonneau cover. You know, I just like to have the ability to put stuff in there. It's actually kind of a bad thing at the same time because that cardboard has been in there for a week, but oh well, whatever. But it's nice to be able to throw groceries in there if you need to or whatever. I do like the bed system on these. I do wish they were a little wider. It'd be sweet. Oh, let me know what you think. I think it would be sweet if Jeep had two separate size Gladiators. The mid-size, which is this one, and then a full-size Gladiator with a Hemi in it. Would you buy that full size, or would you stick with the mid-size if they did that? I'm just curious. The last thing before I give kind of my overview of my thoughts of the Gladiator is the Vector off-road contour bar. I absolutely love that system. If you have not looked into it yet, the low profile version, it's a very well put together system, you know, high grade aluminum. It's very light, very strong, and I love that it holds my phone. I do plan on getting the mount for the iPad once we do start overlanding. You know, we're gonna start overlanding once our daughter gets a little bit older, so she enjoys it. And we're just gonna keep grinding, working now, paying stuff off, so that later on, in 2-3 years from now, we can just take off for 2 weeks and go on a great adventure. If you're already at that stage, you know, that's badass. Hit the like button if you're already at that stage, but we'll get there. You know, we're young, we just gotta keep grinding. So all in all, I've had this truck for 15,000 miles. Now I have had 12 separate Jeeps. I've had a CJ7, I've had 2 different Cherokees, one I built up, one I just drove and flipped. I've had a bunch of different Wranglers. I've had 2 different 4-door Wranglers, and I have to say by far, this is my favorite platform so far. Just because of how versatile it is. I've been really impressed with how it does off-road, how it does on rocks, how it does on just light trails, how it does in the mud. You know, yes, I get stuck more often in this one because you do get high-centered quicker than the 4-doors, but that's to be expected. I mean, it's a truck. What can we expect? So, all in all, I absolutely love this platform. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you want to own one? Do you own one? You know, what are your thoughts? I would be really curious to know. But hey, I really appreciate you guys sticking with me if you made it this far. Remember, hit that subscribe button. Let's hit 1,000 subscribers so that we can give some free gear away from Extreme Truck and Auto. I know we're gonna do some apparel, some Bubba ropes, probably even, and Milt, if you're watching this, just a heads up, probably some lights. I'll probably purchase some of that stuff just so that the burden is not all on them, so that we can give some cool shit away. So I really appreciate you watching. Until next time, yeah, keep wheeling. I'll talk to you guys soon.